What we're going to start off with are some really easy kinds of cuts, and the kinds of vegetables you have in front of you sort of exemplify how you'd be cutting those, right? What cuts you'd be using. So we're going to start with an onion. This is the one that everyone asks about. And ideally, your onions will be round, okay? So we're going to assume that everyone has a nice round onion. And the first thing you want to do is look at the root end. So the hairy part, that's the root end, okay? The other part's the stem end, right? And we're going to start with cutting the root end, okay, just like this, all right? So don't take a whole lot off, all right? But we're going to go on and take that root end off. And while you're doing this, keep your fingers, if you can, away from, yep, you all look like you're doing a good job. Good. Okay. Is anyone struggling with their knife at this point? All right. So, and then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to cut off the stem end, all right? And just give that a slice. Okay. All right, good. And so you want to get your peel out of the way. Sometimes it's good to have like a little garbage bowl on your counter. There are garbage cans placed around you in case you need them.
Also,
Okay.
I compost, so if anybody wants to make a little compost pile,
Nice.
I'll collect it, and that would be appreciated. So,
All right. And then, again, you're just going to cut your onion in half, okay? So the reason why we've cut the ends off is we've created a flat surface for your onion to sit on, all right? It's not going to be rocking and rolling all over your cutting board there. And you want to do that with pretty much anything that you're cutting, is creating that flat surface first. So now you can just go on and peel your onion. And the beauty about having a sharp knife when you're cutting an onion specifically is as you cut, you're bruising those onion cells less, so you're actually going to be releasing less of those gases that make you cry while you're chopping the onion. These have also been refrigerated, and so that tends to cut down on the tears a little bit too. All right, so, but if we all start crying, we all have waterproof mascara on, right? So.
And contacts.
And contacts, excellent. Yeah, that can help too. Get that going. And then once you've got it peeled, it really is cutting in a grid pattern, okay? So what I want to call your attention to, though, before we do that, is we've got this bigger flat surface here, okay? So that's good. We've got some stability. But we also want to have some stability with our non-dominant hand, with our non-knife hand. And this is called, affectionately, the claw. All right, so if everyone wants to hold their hand up, their non-dominant hand, and kind of make a claw, okay? And you can look here and see that from your second knuckle down to the tips of your finger is almost like a straight plane, okay? You want to keep that as straight as you can and not have your knuckles facing out, because if your knuckles are bending out, they're getting in the way, all right? And that's not what we want to have happen. But having this claw here, you're even stabilizing this even more, all right? And when you have your knife in your other hand, these fingers from your second knuckle down are sort of functioning as a guard, all right? They're protecting your thumb, they're protecting the rest of your fingers. So when you have your knife going, you always want to keep the tip of your knife against the cutting board. And it should be a smooth motion. I shouldn't hear this, all right? What you're doing here is dulling your knife, especially if you're working on a plastic or ceramic board, okay? So what you're doing is making smooth cuts, and your knife is never leaving the board. And you may not even be going all the way down to the last layer of the onion, okay? And as you're cutting, you're moving your non-dominant hand back. Good. Keep your fingers tucked in, Megan, there. Yep, there you go. Yep, exactly. So you want to keep that claw. Good. Anyone having trouble with that one? Good. Your knife dull? Yeah. I mean, and that can, so again, just underlining the importance here of that sharp knife, but good. And once you've got that, and see how it remains, for the most part, intact, right? And then you just turn that onion at a 45-degree angle, and you slice across it the other way. Good.
You go all the way down this time.
And you go all the way down this time. Same thing, make that claw. Protect your little fingers. Good. And what you're left here with is a medium dice. It's a good all-purpose dice for all recipes that require an onion, pretty much. Okay? Is this much different than what you're doing at home? Some?
A little
No,
bit.
some yes, a little
Just a
bit.
little.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so this is what's going to be a dice, all right? Sometimes you'll find that an onion recipe, a recipe with onions calls for strips, and if that's the case, then you would stop with that first cut, okay? And that's where you would come up with something that looks like this. This is nice if you're doing like caramelized onions or something, or maybe putting them on the grill. All right? How are we doing with that? Good.
Is there a good trick for hitting the ends? Like when you don't
Yeah.
have much of an onion? So
Yeah,
it's
okay,
long?
so let me. So when you're at that point, and this is the point I think you're imagining, right?
Uh-huh.
Just flip it down, back onto the board,
That makes
all right?
sense.
And then you again have that bigger flat surface area, and then you can just continue to cut. Make sense?